Hey guys, thanks for joining again. So this week has been pretty interesting. So we've been here, and there has been some political demonstrations that's been going on. But this week's a little bit different because this week the leaders of this demonstration, of these protests, they called for demonstrations for 3 days: Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I am not going to be arrogant in trying to give some sort of political commentary on what's going on. I'm just kind of like a third person, just observing and kind of seeing the effects of what's going on. So I'm just going to give you my side of what's we're kind of seeing and hearing. Um, so for those of you to know, last year there was an election year for the presidency of the country of Kenya. And so the person who won, his name is William Ruto, and so he's the current president right now. Now, with everything that's been going on with COVID and stuff like that, I'm assuming they're trying to, figure out a solution. And so one of the things that they're pushing through right now is a new tax law. And so from what I understand from like coworkers and stuff, they're telling me there's just taxes that are like increasing with like gas, with property tax, with income tax. And so all this stuff is increasing, but at the same time, the cost of living is increasing as well too. Like the price of just basic food items such as like maize flour, which is like a pretty staple food item here, sugar, eggs, all these different things, all those things are increasing in price. And then now with like these new tax laws, it makes the situation even worse. So last month they were supposed to pass this new like tax law, and this kind of stemmed the whole like demonstration. And so um, the opposition from last year's presidential election, the main person was Raila Odinga, and so he's kind of and his party are kind of like leading these demonstrations right now as a protest to the government on all these like increases in tax and cost of living, and they're saying that the government's really not doing anything to help with the situation. And so you know it almost kind of reminds me a little bit of like Haiti. It's not as severe yet, but there's like people are protesting, they're blocking streets some places, they're burning tires. um, in the big urban areas like Mombasa on the coast and Nairobi, it's worse, obviously. Like, for example, today I know they closed schools in Nairobi just to keep like the children safe. There was an incident, I think they were saying in the news, where I don't know what exactly happened, but essentially tear gas was exposed to some children, and I think some of them were had to go in the hospital and things like that. So it's not a great situation with these demonstrators, these protesters, and like the police and like the government right now. In the Constitution, there is a right for people to protest and demonstrate, but obviously with those situations, some people like take advantage of situations, and so there's some rioters and people who like damage property and things like that as well too. And then the police come in and they're trying to keep some sort of semblance of peace, and they kind of agitate one another. Like I think I was reading a news report today where there was supposedly police officers that were like disguised in like civilian clothes and then like arresting people. So it's just kind of a real state of like unrest and unease currently. Some people have died, and people are pointing fingers at each other. So there's that situation. And so how does that affect us? So pretty much since we're in like the more rural setting, we don't necessarily like like the whole how big of a situation is like compared to the cities, but still it affects us in that even here people don't want to travel even to come to the hospital. So we don't get a lot of patients currently coming in. For example, we have our club foot clinic on Wednesdays, and families are traveling quite a bit of distance to come to the clinic, but now they're not coming because of fear of these demonstrators and these protesters and the clashes. They don't want to be caught in the crossfire between protesters and the police. Sometimes even like the like taxis and stuff, they stop running because people will stop them, and they'll like ask if you're like for the protesters or not, and they'll like make you pay like some money to pass through the road. So people don't want to just deal with that situation. And it's there's even some things where people have told me there it's like kind of like a tribal thing too, because the opposition is one tribe and the presidency and his party is one tribe as well too. So there's kind of those elements that are intertwined to this current situation as well. So yeah, we're just kind of staying low. Once we know that these protests are going on, we pretty much stay on campus. We see who we see, who's able to make it, but we just kind of sit tight. And honestly, at this point, we just got a letter from the presidents of the unions in the country. They're just calling for the people of the church right now, people of God, to pray right now, because really that's the only thing we can do, just for peace and for some of this to kind of die down a little bit. So we're thankfully we're here, we're safe, we have food, and we don't have to worry about going to town right now. But that's just kind of some of the what's going on right now, in case you're seeing the news and you're kind of wondering how it's affecting us. So we'll see how the situation plays out, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated once things kind of progress or when things change. But anyways, thanks for keeping tabs. Thanks for keeping us in your prayers, and we'll see you next time. Bye.